Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Brendan. I'm here with John.
Hello. Hey, what kind of doctor works with transgender men? A gynecologist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for
You're
sharing.
welcome. Hmm.
We were talking about relationships, and John was saying because I talked to somebody. I talked to somebody, and we were having a fairly candid conversation about what could go wrong in a relationship, and I was appreciating that that question was even asked. And then John was saying, can you re-say what you were saying?
Yeah,
Basically, I think it's
I
better.
think I
Yeah.
think that I think that it's healthier. So, I think it's not that focusing on what could go wrong is not important. It should be done, but the primary focus is what can go right and how to do things well. Like if you're doing a basketball team or something, it's like you don't really focus on what could go wrong. You focus on how to do everything well. And of course, something could go wrong, and you do have to have some kind of, you know, backup ideas and plans for that. But the reality is that so many fucking things can go wrong with everything, with every enterprise. We can never think of all the things that can go wrong. And at some
Yeah.
point, if we start focusing on what can go wrong, we start actually planning for stuff to go wrong instead of planning on things to go well and
Yeah.
focusing on what actually makes things go well. And I think that's where the I think that's a more powerful way to go, all in all.
Yeah, and then I had the reason I turned on the camera at this point because when you were talking about this because I'm not disagreeing with you, and I have like an addition to what you're saying that
Mm.
is perhaps counterintuitive that I've discovered or looked into or been exposed to that I thought would be useful in this case is in in like martial training when we're doing principles, a lot of it is say like controlling the mind, as Peter would say, and it bears out as I've looked into this myself. Controlling the mind is about what you don't do with your mind or what I don't do with my mind. So it's a lot of like no, 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 no. And it
Hmm.
just so happens if I say no to everything that is not just the thing that I want to do, then the
Hmm.
only thing that is left is just doing the thing.
Yeah, amen to that. That
And
sounds right on.
yeah, and that is about intimate knowledge of what can go wrong. And the same seems to apply with my house. Like when as say I've built a lot of the house now, if I were to redo it, I know this can fuck up, this can fuck up, this can go wrong, this can go wrong, this can go wrong, and I'm like nope, 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 we're just going here, and it makes it nice. Or Hicksing more evidence, Hicks and Gracie, I heard him talking about um, grappling in an interview a long time ago, and it was something like, oh, I wish I could remember. I think it was something similar where he's like, I know the world, and because he's knows it, he can just do what he needs to do. So he understands where all the traps are. And so I think I agree with you in the sense that um like that focusing on the thing makes you hit it, or if I'm going somewhere and I'm focused on the problem, because I'm focused on the problem, I manifest the problem as if or create more problems. And so I think there is something to that. Is don't focus on the problem, focus on what needs to happen, only do that, and then know everything else that could be a problem and don't do that.
Yeah, but we don't know everything else that could be a problem.
That's
Like
true.
if you're one of the Gracies, or if you're some master at something, then yeah, you can articulate 1,000 problems that could
Yeah,
happen
because
within one,
they've experienced the problems.
because they've experienced it. But like, if you're not good at grappling, and somebody just tells you like, all right, we're going to grapple now, whatever you do, don't let anyone get into your armpits, and don't let anyone get past your knees. Just
Yeah,
don't let them do that. Just focus on that.
singular focus. Yeah,
As soon as you do that, like, you can tell anyone of reasonable athleticism just that, and you're going to see immediate major improvements if they're grappling.
yeah. Quick tip if you're a grappler out there.
Yeah, it's like that's
That's a
just
freebie.
that's just a thing. And so
So there does
that's like
seem there
focusing on
does
the thing that actually
that
helps.
yeah, that works, and it's like when I do leading in boxing or something like that, when I do a principle that changes the world and increases my skill, it's yes, I do that and not
Mm,
everything else. But it is a singular focus on what's important. My mind stays on that. My actions stay on that. So there does seem to be um, that aspect seems yes. Like
mm,
in order for effectiveness to occur, yeah, you don't want to focus on that. Another place that where, like, say when I'm running workshops, come do one by the way. Um, I I want you to come do a workshop. It will serve you. When I'm running workshops, I am constantly on the lookout for what could go wrong while
mm,
I'm doing it, like while I'm handling logistics, so I can handle
mm,
that. So I guess in that case, it's probably important for me in that domain to know what could go wrong because
mm,
I have to make it so that it doesn't.
mm.
And that requires me taking action before it's a bigger problem. So there's that. So I'm on the lookout, and that focus seems to make a difference.
Maybe they're just two perspectives on the same thing.
Yeah, and or maybe different. I'm also the reason I keep going here is I think I'm also wondering dependent on the domain
Mm,
and dependent upon what is required for that domain. Like another place where I notice something is in the domain of my own suffering, like my own
mm,
emotional suffering. I It's like going off a quote from Peter that again bears out as I looked into this. He says in one of the workshops, there's a quote. He's saying, outside of the buried love you have for everyone, like already, or there's I'm not remembering well. There's like something the buried love you have for everyone. So just taking that, when I started when I took a stand and started going like, all right, my experience is not good. I want to improve it. I noticed a whole areas where I was quote suffering or in pain, emotional pain about stuff or unhealthy in my mind. I started stripping things away that I used to think were me. Like, no, that's not me. This isn't me. Nope, this is no. A whole bunch of no. And then when I got rid of a bunch of that, every so often I get to this place where it's like, oh, I already love you. I already love people. I already love life. Like just being there seems to be underneath all of the bullshit, there's an inherent state, if you will, an inherent goodness to just being alive.
mm,
And I don't find that without focusing on the negative. But then again, when I focus on the quote negative, it is for the intent of becoming free. So there is a focus on going back to your consideration, being free. So I am focused on the negative, and I have a as if a goal in mind, freedom from the bullshit. And so then I
mm.
guess maybe it does play into your what you were saying, like freedom from excuse me, focus on the thing. And yet, in order for me to get there, I have to like go through this and go through that and bring this up and bring this up and notice this. So then the focus is the truth.
Mm.
In that case, well, the quote, what's true, not like foo foo bullshit. You know me, you know us people. Come on. The just what is going on here? What's happening? Be honest with yourself. What's really happening and how does it work? Like if I'm suffering, what is that? How does it function? How does it get created? Where does it really come from? And then,
Mm.
yeah. So I don't know how that fits in with what you were saying,
Do you think some suffering just works itself out, kind of like taking a shit? I mean, do you think that like some suffering, a lot of suffering, maybe most suffering, maybe all suffering, just is stuff that just works out? Like you said that there's an inherent goodness to being alive.
yeah, and yeah, yes.
And maybe a lot of what we do is we just overcomplicate things and
Oh, massively.
and it's actually just not that complicated. Um
Yeah,
and I think a lot of things that sound like cliche, simple advice that sounds superficial and boring and etc. Like, you know, eat healthy, get enough sleep, spend time with people you love, do some work that's fulfilling, that actually helps people, be a part of a community, spend time outside,
yeah,
stuff like that. All this, like the basic stuff, is like, whoa, that actually goes a long way towards making a lot of people a lot suffer a lot less and have better relationships, etc. It all connects all together.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Not to promote a lifestyle, but
sure, yeah. As you know, it's like we don't tell you what to do. You live your life. It's not our problem. Um, well, I want to challenge you right away at the beginning because, I want to challenge you at the beginning. You said, does suffering work itself out? And what I want to invite you, I mean, challenge in the sense that invite you to notice in the language, if you listen, is already the assumption that the suffering is somehow some object outside of control. It works itself out as if suffering is an it and it can work on its own. I wanted to bring that to your attention because then it's already considering operating from a base of knowing what the suffering is without inspection.
well,
Well,
upon inspection, when I'm talking about
great.
suffering, I'm
Yeah.
talking about the experience of conflicting, you know, desires and not being okay with that, you know, like
Yeah. And then
maybe
the,
it's that not being okay with stuff is the kind of primary thing, like not
yeah.
being okay with something. But
Yes.
but so like it could be, um um say you're someone is in love with their partner, their
Yeah.
wife or their husband, and they experience sexual desire for other people, and uh, they can and that sexual desire for other people is something that's actually um, conflicting with their desire to be in connection with their partner more, and there's a conflict there, and then they can feel a sense of, I don't accept this conflict, like they don't accept it or what have you.
Yeah.
And then in accepting that, like, oh, okay, there are both of these desires there, that's like step one, and then it kind of works itself out. But you could also say that like as people get older, perhaps maybe maybe their libido starts to go down because they're getting older, and so their desire for other people starts to reduce, and so like it sort of works itself out is what I mean. It's like things change
Yeah.
in the biology of the person and in the context and the circumstance of the person, so that it's not so much of an issue anymore. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's like stuff. If sometimes just as far as like suffering goes, sometimes maybe it's just like, well, just relax and wait a little while. Like go outside and build your house, or go do some work and give yourself something to do. And actually, a lot of times these things just kind of work themselves out. Not always. I'm not saying that, but
Yeah, yeah, because I'm right now I'm focused on your original question. It's like, does suffering, I can't remember exactly, does suffering work itself
work
out?
itself out.
I
And I
would
compared it
say
to like taking a shit. And a shit is an object and it's a natural process.
yeah,
And I would
I
say,
mean, I see examples of both in the sense that, if the body gets cut, it heals itself. If the mind experiences trauma, it doesn't it wants to maintain an equilibrium. There is an aspect of wanting to maintain an equilibrium. Now, some suffering, it looks like some people are so entrenched in bullshit suffering, you know, mental emotional activity that is just unhealthy, disempowering, hurts them, hurts other people. It's just painful. And
mm,
because of the way they've wired it up, it is not going anywhere. They will live it, they'll take it to their grave.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff doesn't work itself out.
yeah,
I
yeah.
work that out,
Hmm.
by realizing,
Yeah, stuff
by
can get
getting really
Yep.
honest about what it is and realizing how it functions. And in that's that stuff, you see, even in my language, the stuff, as if it's something, again, it's then the but getting honest about it reveals it more for the process that it is, which
Mm,
is something I'm doing to make it happen. Some of it's really strong and entrenched, some of it is more surface, but at the end of the day,
mm,
like for example, I went through some challenging times, right? I had a mental, emotionally challenging year, 1 year, or like year and a half, something like that. And at first, it was the worst thing, and I mean the worst. It was rough, right? I think even you saw me at the beginning of that, and I had to rewire my mind. But so at the beginning, it was really bad, but then at the end, I realized how foolish it was. It was literally the biggest temper tantrum I've ever thrown in my life. Like that,
okay.
the nature of it was like a child screaming for mommy and daddy, essentially, or screaming for attention or fix. Like like a temper tantrum, literally, same. And it was an adult version, adult sized. And so now I go, no, wait a minute, that's just ridiculous. Why would I even do that? Why did I do that?
Mm,
And so then my view has changed. But at the beginning of it, it was a big deal. And I don't think if somebody's going through a crisis like that, say they were, or maybe say that wasn't me, that was somebody else. We don't know who that was. But say
okay.
somebody goes through that, and you tell them right at the beginning, hey, this is just a drama. They're not going to receive it well.
No, because it
Like this is
invalidates
just
their
this.
experience, which to them is the most real thing that they can imagine.
Ah, yes. Yep. Yeah. You're
Yeah,
invalidating my experience. And if that's all I've got, damn.
yeah, yeah,
That's what, yeah. In foo terms, people, that's where enlightenment saved my ass, I would say. It
You had a
helps.
you had a context. You could see it as you could make a distinction between
The
that,
stuff and
all of
me
that, and you.
like
Yeah.
that. And infinite. It's like having an infinite backup. Now, saying that, you might go down some roads out there. Don't go down some roads, but if you really want to go down that road, come do a contemplation intensive. You're invited to that. But don't do it for the purpose of making your experience better because it's going to suck. In a contemplation intensive, it's not fun. It's work. Um, but anyway, let's see. We're getting off track here. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I got a question for you, and
Hmm.
maybe it's a huge segue, or maybe it's not something you want to get into, but I'm curious. What is health?
Yeah, we were going to talk about this. That's an interesting question. Yeah, what is health? Let's. So here's some stuff. Well, let's get a dictionary definition first. What do we got here?
Okay.
Because we're gonna go like now. You can read about health. You can, but then there is healthy, not healthy. You got it. You got it.
I'm looking up some stuff.
Okay, I'll get the definition. If it says the act of being healthy, I'm gonna be ripping at the dictionary. Maybe the state health, the state of being free from illness or injury. Free, free.
So we're defining it by a negative.
Right. See, focus on the negative. There we go. Your favorite. No, I'm just yeah. It says the state of being free from illness or injury. He was restored to health. A person's mental or physical condition. A person's mental or physical condition. Bad health forced him to retire. Used to express friendly feelings toward one's companions before drinking. Ah, your exclamation to your good health
Hmm.
as they drink. The state of being free from illness or injury. Okay, I
I
mean,
have another definition,
what you got?
and it is more positive.
Great.
Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity.
Okay.
It encompasses various aspects, and that word well-being, bien-être, to be and well, is like the good, or like the it's it's to be good.
To be good.
To be good.
Okay.
Health is to be good. Physical
Yeah.
health. We know what we're talking about when we're talking about health. Physical health involves the optimal functioning of the body and its
Yeah.
systems. Mental health refers to emotional and psychological well being.
Are you reading this now?
I'm reading this, yeah.
Okay.
Social health pertains to social health pertains to the ability to form satisfying relationships and interact well with society.
Yeah.
Um, and then healthy describes the state of being in good health.
Okay.
So, what are physical aspects? Regular physical activity, a nutritious diet, etc. Mental aspects, positive mental health practices, seeking help when needed, maintaining a work-life balance. And this is in the context like of a modern Western, industrial society.
Yeah.
Social aspects, having strong supportive relationships, participating in community activities, maintaining a healthy social life. I would say there are other dimensions that encompass health because I don't think physical, mental, and social are the only aspects. I think there's at least one other, and you could call that the spiritual or the existential, or your relationship to the truth, your relationship to like your ultimate sense of meaning or purpose in your existence, your life is an essential aspect of health for, especially for an adult. For children, it's just to be loved and to grow up. But for adults, it moves into something broader, I think, especially as we get older and approach death. But
Yeah. Um, well-being
mm,
is a definition is the state of being comfortable, healthy, or happy.
yeah. So these are going to
So
circle,
they
these
are going to
definitions are going
circle
to start
back.
to circle around and refer to each other, and
Yeah. So
self-referential.
then what is the distinction we make when we like so okay, a body is healthy when it's got the right fuel in it, it heals well, it's disease free, um healthy, like a healthy body. If and then we could say a mind can be healthy or not healthy.
Mhm.
Now, but then that still doesn't really tell us what health is. We have an understanding of health. Like,
Well, we need to also include our practical everyday wisdom. You know, when you see someone who's physically healthy and you experience someone who's physically
yeah,
healthy, that they're healthy. You can feel it, you can see it. If
totally.
you're if you're if you're making love to a woman, then you can feel her state of health. If you're boxing with a guy, you can feel his state of health in a lot of ways.
Well,
The
what is
more you
health?
That's that state of well-being. It's that things are moving. The life in them is. I'm going to use a bunch of poetic words here, but we know. I'm asserting that we actually do know what health is, and
Yeah.
that we're going around in circles about it because we can feel it for especially like for things, physical things. But you can look at a tree and you know if it's healthy or not based on if it's growing strong, or a lot of the leaves are the branches dying and it's got fungus growing out of it and stuff like that, and I think we can know similar things about the mind
Yeah.
and more um,
See, but then what?
ephemeral things.
Yeah, we know, um, we see evidence of it. I suspect health is like a principle.
Yeah,
This is one reason why I keep pressing the issue because it's like yes, we see it, we can think about it, we can go healthy, not healthy, but what is health?
it's life.
It seems related to life.
It is life. Like life is like, the more
I
life, the more health.
I disagree
No?
because
Okay.
something can be life but be unhealthy life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but it won't be for long.
Right. But it does seem related to life. If like is a rock healthy? It's irrelevant.
It's living good.
Yeah, it
It's
seems to have
living
something
well.
to
It's
do with
living well. It's
life.
surviving well.
Yeah.
For human beings, that's more nuanced than it is maybe for
Oh yeah,
giraffes.
because we've got social. We have a massive social world that is ridiculously complex. So then, some of the stuff I wanted to talk about health was like one place where I see people falling down is if you ever seen somebody like I have somebody in mind. I know this person and they are absolutely obsessed with eating healthy, but the reason they're obsessed with eating healthy is because they
Isn't a
are
healthy reason.
unhealthy. That's right. And so it's not healthy. What they're doing is not healthy.
Yeah.
And they could and so I wanted to reveal this because I think these are some loops that people can get caught up in, you know. And so say what would you do about that? How do you become healthy? Or no, let me back up. So then what are great things? What is healthy? What is a healthy thing to do? It seems to me that becoming free of emotional suffering is ultimately healthy for the mind. Like when I stop doing dumb shit in crude terms, when I stop doing dumb shit with my mind, I get healthier, which is to say I'm just happy. I'm free from
Hmm.
the crap. And
Yeah.
that is healthier. When I work out my body, I am healthier. When I spend time working outside, that seems healthier than sitting at a computer working all day, say. Like
Yeah,
just
and
as
it's
a
better for
general.
you to do it. It's better for you to do it out in the countryside than it is in a industrial urban environment with a bunch of fumes and stuff that you got to
Yeah.
breathe in.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Noise of
then like
cars.
that somehow we know health versus not health. And so yeah, that's what I've got so far. And
Yeah,
if you want health, I bring up
and you
the
do.
yeah, people do or when I think people take it for granted. Young people probably take it more for granted cuz they just get injured, they bounce back. But, stack some years on there, kiddo, and go get yourself injured. You're going to be out for a few months and you're going to really wish you had that body that could heal itself faster, right? Um yeah.
Yeah, it's also not too precise, and I think that that's good too because there's some like I could definitely say more about what I think is healthy and what isn't, and I
Yeah.
think you'd push back on it, but
Mm.
because I'd get you'd be like, well, there's cultural perspectives and biases and so forth, and I would counter that, and I'm not going to go there.
Oh, you're not. Okay.
Um, no, because we've gone there before, and I mean we can, but I would say there's a range of health. A healthy gymnast is not the same thing as a healthy football player, right? A healthy chess player is not the same thing as like professional health chess player is not the same thing as a healthy farmer. You
Yeah,
know,
and so then
because there's different
there's different domains.
adaptations, and a healthy 20-year-old is not the same thing as a healthy 80-year-old.
Yeah.
A healthy man is not the same thing as a healthy woman is not the same thing as a healthy child.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can imagine already people are going to start, some people would be like, oh, you shouldn't say that. Well, no, it's true. A healthy tree is not the same thing as a healthy dog, is not the same thing as a healthy man, is not the same thing as a healthy
So
woman,
there,
same
dude,
child,
seems to be
20-year-old,
something with
80-year-old.
health that's like optimal functionality, but then again, it depends on what we're trying to function for. So like it
For the
seems
context, and the context is going to be definitely
and
biological,
yeah,
but also other
but I can
things.
optimally function as a fighter, say, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean healthy. That means that maybe my body gets broken up, which isn't healthy for the body,
No, but you
but it's
could
good for
say
fighting.
this fighter is healthier than that fighter. Now, if you were trying to avoid injury no matter what, don't be a fighter. But
Yeah.
if you're going to be a fighter, um, then that would be like there's healthier and less healthy ways to do that. And you
Yeah.
could argue like health for a community of people or for a large group of people. I would say
Right. Is a
a
community healthy or not?
yeah, and I would say a community
Is a
without fighters is not a healthy community.
well,
You see? Because a community needs fighters
well,
if it's a large community
yeah.
in order to survive.
Well, I think maybe there's some confusion there in the sense that healthy might be conflated with is it a functional community? Like is it
And that's
powerful?
that's that's an aspect of health. So like if a community is not functional, it's not healthy.
Yeah, yeah. We could say I would agree with that.
If a
And then I
community
also
is
think that there's is a community strong or not?
yeah,
Is it going
and,
to continue or not?
and
And
which is a function of health.
healthy and then also I think a function of power and effectiveness.
What do you call power? What do you mean by power? Because when I think of power, I think of the ability to create change. I basically the way I define power and freedom is the ability to either not give a shit truly honestly,
Yeah.
or the ability to change myself.
Yeah,
And
like you're free
po-
to one or the other.
yeah, and power is more like my ability to manipulate or change you or some force outside of myself, air
Yeah,
quotes.
that I also include strong, like in a funny way, sometimes when I work with people, I'm like, hey, do you see how powerfully this is being this? Like there's a strength to it.
It's
It
that's
is
the inherent integrity of things, the
like that. It is
intrinsic.
not fucking around and it's strong. Like you can't
It
just
is what it
change
is.
that. That's it. And it's like locked in.
To
That's
to
powerful as shit.
be, to be or not to
Cultural
be.
cultural assumptions run as if deep and are incredibly powerful with the person. If because they don't, there's a force there is what I'm saying, forceful. The Christian church is incredibly powerful in the sense that it is locked in, and
Yeah, but
it's been around for.
it's not as strong as that plant. That
No, it doesn't.
plant,
Objects reign king for sure, or queen,
yeah.
however, whomever you the most powerful, whatever. Um, yeah, the Christian church been around for thousands of years. That is a powerful organization in the sense that
Mhm.
it is together. Now, it keeps going. The reason I bring it up is because of your community statement earlier. It keeps going. Is it healthy? May or may not be. In some areas, I would say flat out, no, it's not healthy at all. Like um, telling people they can't masturbate and then shaming them for masturbating is blatantly unhealthy, as far as I can tell.
I would question that. And
Oh.
yeah, I would question that. And I'm not, yeah. No, because eh, a lot of the um, cultural, what do you call those? Mores, cultural rules and regulations, and taboos, you know, do support, what they support is reproduction. And you say like physical objects are king when it comes to like the innate forcefulness of being. Well,
Yeah.
I think biological reproduction is king or queen when it comes to the health of a community.
Well, yeah, because without
That's
that, it doesn't
because with
continue.
yeah,
You don't have a community without that.
right. And so the conservative Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Hindu, whatever, different values that are, you know, people in modern society, which has a declining birth rate and
Yeah.
is not going to survive in its present form. It cannot mathematically because we're not reproducing fast enough.
Yeah.
So we're not healthy. Um, looks down on those values because yeah, it tells you not to masturbate, it tells like no homosexual sex, it tells you no this and that. And, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
But those rules are part of what uh, keeps the population reproducing, which is the most important essential ingredient for the health of a culture. You don't have that, and the culture dies.
Yeah. So then maybe because I'm seeing a few different ways to go about this. Because if I'm identified, I don't think walking around, say, taking masturbation for example, if I'm in a culture of thinking, which is that's essentially what a religion is like a way of thinking, a culture of thought about life and how to live life and what's important and what's not important. Shaming somebody for masturbating, and then every time somebody masturbates, they're like fucked up in their mind about it. Doesn't seem healthy. Now, does it work if there's less people masturbating, like in Latter Day Saints? You can't fuck until you're married. There's a reason why those motherfuckers are getting married young, because the guys want to get their dicks wet and they can't fuck until they get married, so they do. And I bet it really works for popping out kids. And that's all there. I don't see that as healthy, but I could see it as healthy for, like you were saying, the community to grow, and or it'll make more people. Now, is it healthy for the person? No. Now, and then again, taking the masturbation thing further, somebody can masturbate, but then what if they're masturbating and it's unhealthy? Like maybe it's a chronic need to masturbate that is just go too far. At some point, it becomes unhealthy. The same activity,
Hmm.
healthy in one sense, Too much, unhealthy. Same with like eating sugar or pleasure. Like, is there anything wrong with pleasure? No, but too much pleasure, unhealthy. Somehow there's a balance there.
I've heard tell in a few places. I think it was in what's that guy's name? I might screw this up, so I almost don't want to say his name.
Yeah.
He talks about addiction. Um, Herba. I want to say herbal mate. It kind of rhymes with that.
Yerba mate. Today's show was sponsored by Yerba
God.
mate.
Uh,
Well,
there
look
it is.
up.
Gabe. Hold on, I got it right here.
Yeah, cool. Oh, Gabor Mate. Yeah, the
See, I wasn't
psychologist
I
guy.
wasn't that far off. Now, I don't know if it was him that said it, so I'm not going to quote him.
Okay.
I think it was there, but
He had
I've
some
read it in other
interesting take
places.
on trauma, by the way. You should look him up.
But anyway, if you take rats and you put them in a place where they've got a lot of other rats to play with, and they're
Yeah,
in like a place where they can get plenty of exercise, and you put them in, and they've got two sources of water, and one source of water has cocaine in it,
yeah,
they prefer the water without the cocaine. But if you take a rat and you stick him in an isolated cell, he prefers the cocaine water.
yeah,
And I think that addiction is like that with um, whether it be chronic masturbation or smoking cigarettes or whatever.
yeah. And I would
And it's
go
and
ahead.
it's when we're not living in healthy ways, we're gonna seek that cocaine water.
There seems to
And
be a drive, and
mhm,
also I would add to when you say addiction, one of the things I've noticed, like in terms of the suffering,
mm,
like mental emotional suffering, we are addicted to that because at the core of suffering like that is need.
mhm,
I'm trying to resolve something based on a need that I don't recognize. It's usually something like that. Like, I need to fix being wrong or something.
mm.
One, I think I'm wrong. That's problem number one. And then I think I need to do something about it. Problem number two.
Do you think that rats think that they've done something wrong and they need to do something about it?
No,
I don't either. And I don't think that all human addiction is based on that either. I think
I'm
that
saying it's based
that's
on
on
need. It's based
that's
on need.
yeah, but it's on top of a biological thing that's going on that we don't have a choice about.
Oh, oh.
Like like you can get somebody like the more you fuck up
I,
somebody's I know we
I,
don't want to say that because that's that kind of like
I think I see where you're going, and I don't agree completely. I now, and maybe to some degree, yes. And one of the things I think of is something that Peter tells a story about a study that was done
mm,
where they took a bunch of babies. This is back in the day, like way, way, way back. And they put them in a room and they tried to keep them pure. And they said, okay, we're going to keep these babies pure. Go religion. Organized religion somehow, maybe in the mix here. They had no interaction with other humans except, but they were nourished. They had food, water, shelter, warmth, but they had no social interaction. And apparently every single one of those babies died. So
not surprising.
that to me gives some credence to what you're saying, where I have a disagreement on one hand, I have some agreement on the other. It does seem there is some stuff that is it totally dependent on others and creating a social world, and it's linked to whether we stay alive or not.
And I would say yeah, because human beings are complicated. We're complicated, and especially modern
Oh yeah, it's
humans
way
are
worse now.
complicated.
And
There's a
then
reason.
stack on social media. That's like another layer of superficial.
It's just layers and layers and layers of abstraction
Yeah, and
and
concept.
apparent disconnection from the simple. And so what I'm finding, I'll just speak for myself.
Yeah, yeah.
What I'm finding is like if my go-to is more like, oh, maybe what I need is to spend time with some people that I love and love me. Maybe what I need is to go outside.
Yeah.
Maybe what I need is to make sure that I'm getting exercise. Maybe what I need, like, I think a human need, and maybe you would think this is crazy, but I think that there's a human need for relationships with non-humans. I think we actually need to have relationships with plants and animals, probably particularly dogs. And I understand most people are like, not everybody's like an animal person,
Yeah.
but I think if you look at like traditional societies, hunter-gatherer societies, agrarian societies, everybody's got relationships with animals and plants, and we need that. If we don't have that, we feel disconnected. It's not good for us.
Yeah.
And why does, I mean, I don't. Uh, you, there's a cat. You take care of Rinzai, right? You know,
Rinzai the
Rin,
cat.
Rinzai is not keeping the ranch there running, not serving a practical purpose. Except to have a relationship with Rinzai.
Yeah, well, sometimes he does murder things, but that's
Okay, yeah, there's a benefit, there's a practical benefit, particularly with
maybe.
cats and dogs and horses historically, and even at present with human beings, you know.
Sure.
But
Yeah, and
all
it
I'm
yeah, go ahead.
that's all I'm saying is, maybe sometimes the go-to should be like, all right, not in a woo-woo way, not in a spiritual way. It's just like, oh man, maybe I can go physical first and just see what happens
Yeah.
before I try to do something more abstract or more cerebral
Oh,
or more complicated.
yeah. Yeah, or conceptually like intellectually conceptually based. I think there's something incredibly healthy about objects, like being in the world of
Hmm.
just here, which I think when people surf, they are forced into that world. It's like a very present feeling world. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu forces me into that, and it's good. When I was going through a rough time, I focused on objects. Why? Because objects are completely quiet. There's no fear. There's
Hmm.
nothing going on. And that was healthy for my mind. See, like focusing on the complexities of the social interactions and then all this crap. No, it
Animals,
seems
if you
it
have a
seems
if you have a good
animals are way
relationship,
healthier. Just
if if
look
you
at
have
the
a good
mind of any
relationship
animal.
with an animal, the animal just loves you in its simple animal way. That's all
Yeah,
it does. It just bonds with you in its whatever, in the way that it fits for that being, and it doesn't have a
a
lot
lot.
of
Yeah,
stuff going on about it
yeah.
in its mind.
Yeah, yeah, and that seems healthier. Just seems healthier. That's interesting.
So like where you live where you are, you're outdoors, you're working with your hands, you're
Yeah.
connected with you've got fresh air, you've got
Well, I don't know about
lo-
that. Sometimes there's a lot of pollen.
okay, yeah, there's that, but you're not dealing with toxic fumes,
Yeah.
and you've got you get good sleep, you eat well, you're interacting with people in a healthy way on the regular. I think we shouldn't undervalue all those things.
Mm,
And you feed Rinzai once in a while.
every so often. Yeah, and I'm a little aware of the time. I know you've got to get going.
Yeah, I do. I
And
do.
to wrap it up, I would add also from my perspective, and I want to invite other people to consider this perspective. One, you live how you want. We are not promoting that you be healthy or unhealthy. I don't give a shit about that. What I do care about is if you want that in your life, I empower you to create it. And one of the things you can do is ask yourself, is what like do I want health? There's nothing wrong with being unhealthy. If you're unhealthy, you're just unhealthy. Like from the perspective of the work that I do, don't care. You could snort, blow, and fucking whatever. Or you can be really healthy. I don't care. It just if you want that for yourself, you can ask yourself, well, what is healthy? what are the consequences of what I do? If I'm doing something, is it unhealthy? Oh, if you want health, then you must align with what's healthy.
Mm,
You don't have a choice in that matter, like taking it to a principle level.
mm.
If you want a healthy mind, you must do that which creates a healthy mind, which to me looks like a lot of don't do the dumb shit in your mind. You have like mental emotional fucked upness, stop it. And you that will be healthier. You have physical stuff that you're doing that's unhealthy, stop doing that. You'll be healthy. Like that's the message.
That's the message. We're sticking to it.
You heard it here first. Cool, thanks man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.